Yo, what's good, everybody? Today is June the 17th, 2025. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask you, God, that you bless this conversation. We thank you, God, for allowing us to see another day. I ask you, God, that you bless all the viewers as well as their families. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Marvin, Bennett Jr. Show. Y'all hear the song I got in the background, just the two of us, Will Smith, talking about him and his son. Father's Day was Sunday. So happy belated and Father's Day again to all the dads out there, whether they're still here in the physical form, whether they going on to the next life, whatever the case may be. I'm a big proponent of bigging up fatherhood, bigging up male influences in our lives, and the importance thereof. You know what I mean? So many people, I know so many people that don't have fathers that was in their lives, as well as I know just as many people that did have their father in their life and have vivid memories of their father. So I wanted to just big up, fatherhood on this particular day. While it's this weekend, we always see how much we do go all out for moms. Can't even get reservations for moms on Mother's Day, but fathers are lucky if they get a TV dinner, so to speak. So I'm gonna use my platform to show some love to the active fathers out there, and not just biological fathers. There's so many. You got stepfathers, you got uncles, you got aunts. I mean uncles. You have coaches, just male figures in these different in young men's lives. So we want to get into that tonight. I want to say happy born day to everybody that celebrated over the past week. Um, and condolences to the Cooper family. Miss Sherma Cooper, one of our former guests on one of my favorite shows. Actually, she passed away 2 weeks ago. And they just had the homegoing service of her for her on this previous weekend. So shout out to her family, Ronnie. We and you in our prayers as well as her family, her children. Um, Thanks for the memories and thank you for being a genuine individual, vibrant spirit that you were. But another life that's gone far too soon. Um, so I definitely want to offer condolences to her family and prayers. Solicit you guys prayers as well for her family and as they bereave, the loss of their loved one. Um, Shout out to all the graduates. Is graduation season, so it's been mad graduations going on. So shout out to all the graduates.
Marv, just blink out.
You said, did I blink out? No, I'm good on the live. Or look like it anyway.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to all the
I can't
graduates.
see. Marv is buffering.
It might be the
You
connection.
can see him live.
Yeah. Everything good on this end. Because I'm watching the playback on another one. But yeah, with it, like I said, congratulations to all the graduates, all school officials, all the teachers, everybody that's the lunch, the cafeteria workers, everybody that's part of the school system that play a part in our daily children's lives. Shout out to you all as you prepare for the joyous summer vacation. But thank you for your contributions and everything else. With that being said, we're gonna get into the show. I got some dope fathers. Cats that I know personally are the examples of good fathers that I wanted to have on this particular topic, and we might get into some other things as well tonight. But I kind of wanted the primary. Like I said, we're always bigging up our mothers. I like to say, and I said it on the pre-show announcement. So many times people like to show grace toward their mother, and a lot of times I don't feel like that same grace is extended toward dads for whatever reason may be. But with Father's Day being just this past Sunday, I kind of wanted to have some dope fathers on that's active in their children's lives and have father figures in their lives as well, to kind of just share some of the experiences, some of the challenges of being a father, different things of that nature. All three of tonight's guests are repeat, I won't say offenders, but return guests. And all of them I consider literally my brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like brothers for real, not just in the slang term, whatever the case may be. But y'all know him now. He's been a regular these last couple of months. My man Sam Blue. I want to welcome him to the show again. My brother for real. We got to break bread, chill. A couple weeks ago when I was on my little tour and on my hiatus. away from the show. My man Taheed Brisbane, we go all the way back. And I say this is my brother, like no other, for real, for real. And last but not least, one of the I got 3 people since I've been here. I've been here now 20 years next month. I'll be in North Carolina, the state of North Carolina, for 20 years. And in those 20 years, I only got 3 people that I consider family, not just acquaintances and things of that nature. But my man Rome, he has proven time and time again to be a brother for real. One of my ride or dies here that I know I could just a phone call away, and I could count on him in the state of North Carolina. Shout out to my boy Rome McLean. So what's up, fellas?
What's up? What's happening?
What's going on?
Yeah, what?
Yeah. So like I said, I just kind of wanted to get into the whole fatherhood aspect of different things. And we kind of fill it out how we want to go about it. But I guess that'll be the first question. We'll start with you, Ty, since you're in the vehicle. You might have to dip out and go to work or whatever. But what does fatherhood mean to you as a father, and 2, I know personally that you had your father in your life. And many of us, like you said, you come up from the same area like I did. You came up in Philly, you grew up in Jersey. So, we all have encounters of people. Well, I never knew who my dad was. And, we had all those stereotypical things of that nature too. But for you personally, having your father active in your life, how important was that, do you feel? And how has it played a part in your own experience with fatherhood when it comes in terms of your children?
Yeah. Well, first, man, thank you, brother. Thank you for having me on, and happy Father's Day to you.
No
And
doubt.
to you other gentlemen, just want to say happy Father's Day.
Appreciate it.
All right. This was a well worth topic. And I'm honored that you asked me to get on it, man.
No doubt.
Yeah, but like as far as having my father in my life, first and foremost, it was integral in who I became as a father. My mother and father divorced when I was 2. So like we never type of lived together. But my dad was very adamant on picking me up basically every single weekend.
Okay.
Whether when we lived in Philadelphia and even when we moved 2 hours away to East Orange, New Jersey, he was spot on. And if he couldn't do it, he got one of his brothers, my grandfather, to do it. Or, he sent me some money and I caught the train. And, he made sure that I knew that side of the family as well. But when I said he played an integral part in me being a father, what I didn't like about it was not having my father there every day. So when me and Dana decided to get married, we wanted to break generational curses, divorce, children out of wedlock, step parents, and all of that, right? So, we committed to raise our children together and to stay together to, see it through. And, long and short of it is we was able to, to do just that. We got 3 beautiful kids. They're all successful in their own right. All are grown and out of the house by the age of 20. So I would say like a lot of the experiences that I endured growing up, not having my father there propelled me to be an excellent father. And one thing my kids could never say is that daddy wasn't there. Like everything and anything that went on in their life growing up, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors, broken bones, parties, I didn't miss anything. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And it wasn't just my kids, like in my family, it says it takes a village to raise them. So, I'm a father figure to more than 20 something nephews and younger cousins and things of that sort. Like, I'm uncle to a lot of kids that they think we're related, blood related, and we ain't. So, definitely just like Marv is an uncle to our kids, a lot of our kids each other don't even know that they aren't blood related sometimes. They just know that it's family.
That's what's up. And same thing to you, Ron. How you feel about it?
I mean, fatherhood I grew up with my father. My father was around. Like, my father passed away. My real father passed away in 2006. So I was 22 when my dad passed away. I was 22 when my dad passed away. So, but my dad, just same thing like Trey, he said, like my grandma really I was with my grandma on my mom's side all the time. We was always with her. We lived with her basically. So when we moved from Raleigh to Johnson County, my dad would just come pick me and my sisters and most of my brothers that we wanted his and sisters up every weekend. Every Friday, pick us up from school. Sunday evening, he bringing us back so we get ready for school on Monday. When me and my sister were over the summer, and I think I used to tell you these stories, like my dad's side of the family all migrated to New York and Brooklyn. So me and my sister Sonia, we would go to New York for the summer. He would drive us all the way to New York, drop us off, and we'd be there for the summer. And then we always went to Florida over the summer with the family. So on the way back from Florida, we would just get dropped off in North Carolina and get ready for the school. So, but my dad was great. My dad really taught me how to be able to just go hard working. Like my dad, he had 7 kids. I was the youngest out of his 7. All his kids had, graduated from high school, college, things like that. So that was obviously a great thing for him. But my dad went to work every day. He worked Fred Whitaker Company out in Raleigh off Lake Willard Road back in the day. Every day he would go to work at 3:30, get off at midnight. 3:30 in the afternoon, he had that second shift job, that true second shift job back there, right?
And I've actually heard of that company.
Yeah, 3 days he went to, and then and my dad had a stroke while he was working. They ended up allowing him to retire early, but he just taught me how to be a father. I become a father at a very young age. I was still in high school when I had my son. I only got one, but I was 18 when I had my son. My son now is 22. So. And then I got nephews and, and things like that and niece and that I try to, just be some type of role model for. I mean, at least, put those traits in them, like being able to take the trash out, right? Take the trash out, be able to be handy, be able to be some type of handyman, whether it's being able to fix something at home, be able to do the little odds and end things to your car and stuff like that. So, to me, fatherhood just being able to, it's a saying that I like that I've been hearing a lot lately. It says, a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others, right? And I do believe that, right? So I learned a lot of things that my dad did that I didn't want to do, right? My dad was a drinker, but he was a businessman, but he liked to go drinking. He liked to drink. And I went to a lot of liquor houses with my dad. I vowed I would never do that for my son, being my son. And so I was able to be wise in a lot of ways, and I try to steal that to my son and stuff and my nephews. And yeah, so fatherhood to me is being able to teach, motivate, be an example, but also, being able to just hopefully allow your children to be able to be wise enough to learn from your mistakes.
No doubt. Well, but what about you, Sam?
Well, my father was stone cold, stubborn, and military, and he literally believed that there was only 3 things that he could do for us: provide food on the table, shelter over our heads, and clothes on our back. And thinking back, I think I may have been hugged by my father maybe twice. There were a lot of things that he did. There's a lot of things he sacrificed, especially dealing with like the Vietnam War, his injuries, being shot, for his whole career in the military. And one thing that I did know, even from his sternness, his coldness, is that he at least gave me those 3 things as far as a foundation to always make sure you feed your family, make sure you shelter your family, make sure you provide. So I think my father was the most amazing provider for his kids, but he never dribbled a basketball with me. He never threw a football with me. There were certain things that he never did. So what I did, growing up was that when I have a child, I'll make sure that I do exactly what he did as far as providing, but we're gonna throw the football. We're gonna, do the basketball. And I think that's what to me, that's what fatherhood is. It's taking the positives that you were shown or mentored growing up and the things that you didn't have, not necessarily you don't give your kids everything you didn't have, but at least give them the tools. And I think with our son, Marv, you know our son from Millbrook and
Yeah,
stuff. And
little Sam.
oh, good.
More.
Well, he always little to me, but the thing is like I tell him that same thing. Like everything that he felt that I did or that we did as parents to make sure that if there was something that was missing, to make sure he adds that to it. But make sure you don't spoil, you don't spoil your kids. That's what the grandparents would be for. But make sure that you stay stern. You don't have this gray area. You have either you right or wrong, just that thin black line. So that way, when they do mess up, it's not hard for them to get back right.
No doubt. I like that approach. Now, y'all all tapping on this, and I've always kind of pondered on this myself. Like, fan is not the correct word. You got to use the whole word when it comes to me. I'm a fanatic. But one of the things that I always like to do is in Rome, he don't know, but I can attest to this. I'm actually making this public for the first time. Like, no matter what sport it is, like Hall of Fame weekend is something that's pivotal to me. I watch all the Hall of Fame weekends, whether it's NFL, NBA, even Major League Baseball. I don't even like baseball, but Hall of Fame, I know what that means to make that kind of level of accomplishment. But one thing I never do is I never watch it publicly because literally 9 times out of 10 while I'm watching the ceremony, I'm going to break down and cry because I know how emotional it is for these dudes that we look at these tough figures, these masculine figures, assassins on the field, assassins on the court, so to speak, and have these moments. But one of the reoccurring things that I've seen since a teenager to being a grown man, watching this weekend every weekend, it baffles me how many of some of our prolific sport heroes have the same standpoint that you mentioned, Sam. The know that this dude has the most sacks in NFL history, but he gets up there, and the thing that brings him to tears is the fact that, I knew who my dad was, but my dad never told me he loved me. You know what I mean? Like, what do y'all think as fellow men? What do you think that is the importance of that reassurance, so to speak, especially to a young child, whether you have it or whether you don't have it? How do you think that impacts you moving forward? Like you said, Sam, it made you, now I want to make sure I throw the ball with my son. We're going to play catch. We're going to do those different things there. But why do you think that now on this side of things, being men, why do you think that's so important for us to hear that reinforcement, particularly coming from our dad or who we look at to as that father figure?
I think it's imperatively important that you feed positive words to your children to help them become who they're going to be, to encourage them in what they want to do, and allow them to make decisions. But it's nothing better than hearing, like, as a child from your parent, that I'm proud of you. I'm glad to see you doing this and doing that. Like, anybody can attest to that. Like, there's no sweeter place for that to come from than from the people that you love the most and the ones that are closest to you.
Mm-hmm.
So like, as far as I heard this once, I'm not quite sure where I heard it, and kids spell love not LOVE, but they spell it TIME. So, irregardless of, if you have money to do anything with your kids, a lot of times it's just your time. And, what a better way to spend the time than by encouraging them in what it is that they want to do, staying behind them, supporting them in what it is that they want to do and be, but also, attempting to give them guidance without making decisions for them. I feel as though it's imperative.
That's good. I like that. So I'm gonna have to steal that one.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead, Mom.
God truth, man. Like, is you spend that time with them. You don't remember, oh, Dad spent all this money. You remember he cared enough to not go make all this money or whatever he had to do, work, and chose to spend that time with me instead.
Yeah.
That's the most valuable resource that we all have is our time. It's the only thing that you ain't gonna get no more of.
Mm-hmm.
And your children, in essence, are an investment in who you are and keeping your legacy going.
Mm-hmm.
So on that level, you want to invest fully into your children with as much positivity, and teaching them, showing them, and being a good example of a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. Before you go, Rome, you're right on that, because I remember me personally back in high school, when I played football, I'm thinking that football is going to be my ride out. It's going to be my way out of the hood, so to speak. I'm getting letters, I'm getting offers, and different things of that nature there. But I remember one day pre-gaming my senior year, and I remember I used to always I had my own little ritual. I would go into a certain part of it, and I only listen to two artists. I'm not going to say which artist. My man Hot Rod, he'll probably be in the comments later because he knows the two artists that I listen to. But I remember one day just having this thought, like, man, it's crazy to me that, here it is. I'm this athlete. I got these scholarship offers. I'm trying to do this here, and I got a chance to make it. I'm nice at what I do, and my father has never seen me play. This is something that I lived with for 25, 30 years, right? And since I've been doing the show, one day I'm on classmates.com, and because I was in my mind, all these 30 years, these 25, 30 years, I'm like, man, it would have been so cool to just score a touchdown and look in the stands and point at my dad, not my mom, but to see my dad in the stands, so to speak. And I remember going on Classmates for something, and the class of 92, not the year that I graduated, but the year previously, I'm looking through their yearbook, and here it is, a picture of my dad and my best friend father in the stands with my younger brother at the time. Is a picture in the 92 class of 92 yearbook of my father being there. And I didn't even remember that my father seen me play. So it's like, how many times do we have these preconceived notions or these feelings and emotions, and it's not even true, so to speak? But to your point, Ty, yeah, I totally get that. Because it's like, oh my God, I've been feeling some type of way for 30 years, but no, my dad did get to see me. And I could tell he came from work because he had his whole uniform on the whole night. I don't know if he was on break, he got to see the whole game or not, but he made the yearbook. So I stopped saying, I stopped saying immediately, I wish my dad could have seen me play, because my dad did see me play. I just didn't have that memory of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But what would you ever say, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things. Like my dad never had a chance to come watch me play football, basketball, and I was really great at it. You know what I'm saying? A high school star, quarterback, two guard. I was really good in the newspaper, news, whatever. And but I just told y'all his schedule, right? Monday through Friday, 3:30 to 12, right? Winter football games Friday night, 7 o'clock, right? In that window. And then basketball game, after the varsity girls play, it's 7 to 6. So he just never had a chance. He was a hard-working man, you know what I'm saying? I understood that. But I always vowed if I have a child and he decided to pick up sports and things like that, which he did, it became really great at it, is I didn't miss a game. From his 6th grade, from when he started playing Pee Wee or Pop Warner football up until college now. I just don't miss it. Because I know, to me, I would have loved to saw my dad in those stands. I would have loved, you know what I'm saying? I would have loved to see my dad in the stands and me being able to put a show on for him and other him they reading in the newspaper, or he's seeing some clips and stuff like that on the news, Friday Night Football, or some, back then, I'm not that old, but early 2000s, not the social media world now, right? We didn't have all that. And social media was about, my dad would have saw a lot more, but so I always vowed that I would definitely make sure I do that. So I always go, like, when my son was younger, pre-high middle school, I always go to all his football practices, basketball practices, and games. And obviously, as you get up into middle school and things like that, you start to respect the coaching, right? Okay, y'all, you can be coaching. I always taught my son. Nobody never taught me how to play basketball, how to throw a football, none of that. It was just being in the neighborhood, picking it up, watching it, just going outside in the dirt, doing things like that. And I really kind of self-taught and playing with the bigger boys and bigger kids at the time. I vowed that, my son wouldn't have to go through that. But we had conversations like, 6, 7 years old, just play, son, play basketball, enjoy your year. If this is something you really want to do, you let me know. We'll talk about it at some point. And if you do, and you want to hopefully make a life out of this, then daddy will get more involved and really work on your game and stuff like that. But right now, just enjoy your childhood until you realize it's something you want to do. And obviously he did that going into like middle school. He realized that's what he wanted to do a little bit. Boom. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's start the work. Let's start to put this work in. And I worked with my son initially. And so that's something I wanted to do to make sure I was more involved in the athletic part of my son's life from basically start to now. And it worked out for him. It's pretty, it worked out for him. And, he matter of fact, he called me the other day. Actually, he's here, so he'd be here. So he was here the other day. And he just said it. He said, Dad, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Everything you do for me, this, that, and the third. So, and it feels good when they tell you that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It feels good when they say that, do it. And hopefully, he still got some growing to do. He's still young, but I'm proud of what he's done so far. There's some hiccups across the road, but that's what young men do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And before you go, Sam, I got to tell one thing about Sam I can attest to. I remember before I even got to know Sam or know who he was, I used to be like, yo, who was this cornball dude that worked for the News and Observer? Sam was like at all the games, baseline or the sideline, camera, all equipment, bags, everything. So I literally thought he worked for the paper. Then somebody said, nah, that's Sam Pops.
He wanted him.
Sam had the press credentials and everything. So I know how important being there to see his son and being a part of his life was for him. But you give your share, you give your take on it, Sam.
Yeah, I just man, you brought back memories. I think when it comes to hearing it, I guess what we knew about my father was he didn't say a whole lot, but he did it through action. We and that's what I tried to do, like with my marriage, through fatherhood, through any relationship. I try to do it with action. Because I think, I could tell my wife I love her every day. Mm-hmm. And then I can beat her down every night.
Yeah.
So my words are saying it, but what are my actions?
Verbally. Allegedly, we talk about verbally, not physically.
No, I mean physically, abusive. To me, I'm saying it, but I'm not doing it. Same thing with a child. You can wake up, say I love you, and then smack them. There's a movie about a sailor with Denzel Washington, and the mother, the foster parents was like so abusive, but they was like, oh, I love you, little N, and this.
Antoine
Fisher. Yeah. So my thing is, that's what I try to do. And I think our son does that same thing where, whether he's buying a house or he's doing something, to give back to the community or back to his college, he does it with his actions, and I think that to me, that is important. And also, I think also it shows our kids that, when I drive through the neighborhood and I see these parents with these big displays, Sweet 16 or graduate, like it's like this thing, the bigger the yard sign, the more you're supposed to love your child. But you can have all this physical and visual stuff, but then inside those doors of that home could be a nightmare. So I just try to focus on like the action, and I do take that. I do tell my son I love him all. I did do that more, but also we had a standard at home. You're gonna make A's. Throughout high school, he only made 2 B's. And I remember Coach Davis, the Millburg basketball coach, calling one day. He was like, "Sam, he got tutoring for a trig and it's halfway through practice." And he's like, "You said if he make a B, he can't start." And I said, "That's the standard in our house. So you better let him go to his trigonometry tutoring so he can bring that A, because if he get 2 B's, he ain't playing. He's not even going to dress." So that was like the standard. And in hindsight, I think back sometimes, like, was a little too hard on him. But then when I apologized to him, he's like, "Don't." He's like, because of that pushing, he graduated near the top of the class. He graduated from college near, I think the second or third highest GPA on the team. He did certain things that because of that pushing. So sometimes we do falter, but I think action trumps everything. But that's, my personal situation.
Yeah. And what's good, Jen? I was just about to say, I'm glad you added that comment, because I was about to say, for those that are watching, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook, if you have some memories of your dad, important moments that you want to share, please feel free to put them in the comments as well. I hadn't seen any comments yet, so I wasn't sure if they were coming through or not. But thanks, Jen, for your comment. But yeah, if you guys got any memories with your dad, or the lack thereof, or whatever the case may be, or the importance of fatherhood to you guys, feel free to put it in the comments, and we'll get to it on the show.
Could I mention one more thing about the photography?
Mm-hmm.
Me growing up, a lot of our photos were lost. In Detroit, everybody has a deep basements, and that's where the laundry room. That's like when there's a flood, it happens down there. So a lot of our photos and all that stuff were all destroyed. So I have roughly 20 pictures of my entire childhood. So my thing was with our son, I'm going to make sure that's cataloged, because we put a lot of stuff on Facebook and the Instagram and stuff like that. But what if that goes away one day? The greatest joy is people when they go to somebody's house and they break out the photo album where you physically can look through, like it's hours of conversation, versus handing people a phone, when they're able to look through that. So that's what I wanted to do, to make sure that I captured every aspect, because during his 4 years at Millbrook, I don't think I ever sat down. I was always on the baseline. Halftime, I go to the other side. And because people saw my camera equipment, they would hand me a media thing, thinking that I was, they thought I was with WRAL or someplace. And then it was the same thing with football. People, my wife, they were in the stands, but I was like, a lot of the fathers were on the sideline, not on the field. Where was I at? I was on the field sideline. Like I was like next to the refs, because I had that big 400-2.8 camera lens, and they assumed like if somebody got this dang on lens, they got to be pressed. And when my son started getting recruited for football, I would see Clemson or all these other schools at the game to see some of the other players, and I would bump myself over to where they were at and then act like faking the funk, like I'm with the News Observer saying, "Man, you got to check out number 82. he is the real, and they say he got a 4.0 GPA, you know, and then I look out the corner of my eye and I see them writing down in their notepad. So it was all strategic. You know, it did save a lot of money because I never had to pay to get into a game because they just assumed. But it was definitely worth it because when he did graduate from high school, when he finished all, you know, football and basketball, I was able to make a yearbook and pass it around to the players. So, you know, he would have something to, you know, his generation to flip through, to look at all his teammates back then. And when they come over to the house, they look at it and they do like how we used to do when we would go to Auntie and Unc's house and see the photo album. Yeah. So that was the story behind why I was so passionate about capturing, you know, every moment.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said it because, Rome, I know people and people that's viewing, I know y'all thought I was probably joking or be a little extra. No, I'm telling you, the first time I said like he had the whole press pass on and everything. Like I really thought he worked for the News and Observer. I thought he worked for the local newspaper. Come to find out, this was a dad, but you were tapped in, you know, to your point. And I'm glad you brought that up because you just let me know that I'm not the only one like that. I was literally having this conversation like 2 weeks ago when I was visiting with somebody, and I'm like, I know, call me nostalgic, call me old school, because somebody else I was mentioning to someone that was near and dear to me, and they're like, Marv, people don't do that no more. They don't do that no more. But I miss going to people's houses. Yo, let me see your grandmother with a picture. You can't even open the plastic because the pictures are stuck together. It's just something about seeing those old pictures. Like, because I tell people all the time, God forbid any of us get amnesia or Alzheimer's disease. It's like the only thing that you have in life, this is my personal opinion, is that only thing that you have in life is memories and pictures. Yeah. And sometimes the memories aren't there, but you can see a picture and you might not remember it, but you get to see it. Like, no, this is an actual picture in real time. Me and Rome was chilling downtown Raleigh. Even if I don't have that, you know what I mean? If I got this picture at a particular time, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to hear that it means something to other people too, because it really means a lot to me to be able to go to loved one house or me have my pictures. One of my favorite pictures is going to visit one of my sons. Matter of fact, my sons, they went when they were younger, they went to stay with their grandmother for the summer. Well, for 2 weeks. And I mean, within 24 hours of them being gone, me and my wife at the time, we like, yo, we miss the boys. Let's ride down there and visit them. So literally, they ain't even been gone 24 hours. We go 2 different states over to go visit them. And when they seen us, the picture is she caught them. My oldest son, he running, jump up in my arms. My youngest son, he down there looking like, and I remember my youngest son saying, "What are y'all doing here? What are you guys doing here?" Or whatever. But it was just one of those cool things. Now we were so tired, we took them to the movies, and we went to sleep during the movie while they watched the movie. Zootopia. That's how I remember it. I remember certain things, but that's neither here nor there. But Jen said, I miss picking up the phone and calling my dad. Shout out to all the real fathers. God bless. Thomas laughed at what you were talking about with the press credential. Easing over to the Clemson. Because Thomas, he played high school football with me too. So Thomas know about that. His son plays college ball too as well. But yeah, man, it's just fatherhood is something that you can't necessarily put into words to me in certain aspects. And the reason that I said what I said about not just being biological dads.
Am I froze?
Yeah, I think it's you, Ty. Because I'm getting feedback from you.
He must got the live feed on Facebook as well. Sound like it's playing.
Yeah, you probably watching it on.
I got it playing on my other phone. I can hear him, but on this joint, we stuck.
Yeah, that's what it is. You get cross feedback because you got both of them playing at the same at the same time.
And I would just mute one because I have mine open.
Yeah,
and I always just mute it.
Yeah, I'm turning it all the way down. I turned it up just trying to see if, because he's still going live on Facebook. He's still talking, but on
Facebook always goes back.
Yeah, it's gonna be delayed.
Yeah, Facebook is behind for whatever they little fake censor.
And they want to make sure you say what you
right.
exactly something crazy before they let it go to the live feed, right? It ain't used to be like that.
YouTube have like a 10-second delay.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same with all across all platforms. But like I said,
y'all was talking about the pictures. So my
Mhm.
dad, I have no pictures of me and my dad, none.
Wow.
I have no pictures of me and my dad, none.
Mhm.
Only pictures I have of my dad. He was older. It was like maybe a few years before he passed away. He passed away in 2006, so June of 2006. So it's been 19 years, and I don't have any pictures of him. So or us together. So I have really no memories of just like photographic memories other than what I've been around. Like some of my sisters, my older sisters on my dad's side may have, or my Aunt Jeanette, Aunt Lily, and them, his sisters may have some, but that's it. So I always vowed too that people used to always wonder why I always took a lot of pictures on social media at one point. I kind of cut back, but I always say, listen, I want to make sure my son has some memories of his father, right? He could always go back to whatever time and say, what I'm saying, these are pictures of my dad. You can see how he transformed over the years, and little skinny little kid and grew up, things like that. So some people think, oh, you just want to take pictures. You think you can see. No, it's not that. I can care less about that. I really want to just create memories for my son or anybody in my family or closest friend to be able to, whenever I leave this world, to be like, okay, yeah, we have some memories of him in different outfits, right? When he played ball, when he coached, when he ran the biggest and best women's flag football league on the East Coast, all of those type memories. Training people in sports, training kids in boxing, when he, could. So that stuff those memories are so important for the children, because I don't have any with my dad that's I can show. I could just go off of moments of doing this with my dad, doing this with my dad. We did this with that. So, but no photographic ones.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I know in terms of all of us on here and those that are watching, shout out to you too, Drew. Happy belated Father's Day, Drew. And you could share your experience with fatherhood too. But I definitely want to say Father's Day to you. Happy belated Father's Day again to you, Drew, because I know Drew, you actually lost one of your seeds.
Right.
And, I'm one of those people. Of course, we can't question God, but I just feel like children are supposed to bury their parents, not the other way around. Parents shouldn't have to bury their children. So I can't even imagine what that experience is like with you. You always in my prayer concerning that. And continue to let your son's memory live on. I'm proud of you, the father that you have, and just doing what you need to do with being a father. I know that you're not the only one that goes through that. And I made a post on Sunday with this song. I forgot the name of it, but it went like for 300,000 views on my Threads account, because everybody was like, dedicated to all the fathers on Father's Day that are in heaven now. And, so many people were like, yeah. And they were on the comments on my thread, people naming the day that they lost their dad, June 5th, 1977. This date, 1983, all these different things. And it just impacted other people differently. But one of the things that I was getting ready to say was, I used to always be on, I used to be one of those ones. I didn't have a lot of grace for the stepdads to fill in father figure so much, because I used to always hear people like, yeah, I'm a good father, but truth be told, and there's no judgment, I'm just talking to my people, I'm talking to my community, but it's like, it's kind of easy to be a great dad when you see your kids every other weekend, maybe 2 months out of the summer. Like, fatherhood meant a little bit more to me where you 24/7, like Todd was talking about earlier, you know what I mean? I remember having those kind of conversations earlier in life. Like, one thing about it, me and my children's mother, we might not be together no more, but I can never say I was a single dad, just like she can never say that she was a single mother. Like, we both were actively involved in our children's lives. And I thought that was important to me, because I don't care. You could be an outstanding parent, right? But I don't feel like no man can teach a young girl how to be a woman, and no woman can teach a young man how to be a man. It just can't be done. You would give them what you think the definition of a man is as a woman, but you don't know, because you don't know what it's like to be a man, no more than I know what it's like to be a woman. So I think that is very important that, you know, we both have active roles in our children's lives. And that's one of the reasons that I actually loved when I started coaching Pop Warner football, because it was something that I was totally against. I always knew I was one of those type of people. That's what, and shout out to all the adoptive parents out there. You know what I mean? Because that's something that people don't have to do either. You know what I mean? You take on that responsibility because you choose to. So, you know, shout out to them. I have a lot of respect for the adoptive parents as well. But one of the things that I didn't do it because I knew, for me personally, even when I would try to be that for other young men and young women, it wasn't quite the same as it was with my own biological sons. You know what I mean? So when I got to coaching, it was like one thing I never did was I never called none of the players son. Hey, son, this and that. That was just one of my things, because you're not my son. I'm going to talk to you like a young man, and you can look at me as a father figure if you so choose, but I'm never going, you know what I mean? I just thought that there were certain things that was off. Like even my high school coach, he would say son a lot of times, but hey, nah, coach, don't call me son. Hey, I got my father. You know what I mean? Certain things I just took personal, but I would start to hear things from some of the mothers, and you know, oh my God, you don't realize. I've been telling him, I done told him this 1,000 times within the last week. The minute you say it to him, he just willing to, you know what I mean? So it goes to show you that it is important, whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally. There pays attention, because one thing that I do learn about all children, whether it be sons or daughters, they paying attention, yo. Even if they don't tell you it, they paying attention to how we move, what we do, and how we respond and react to certain things. So it's that much more important. Like Rome said, you know, he had the memory of his dad, so he wanted to create memories with his son, but not those memories. He don't want to be remembered as going to the juke joint, or you know what I mean. Every time I could say that was the times that I had to pick him up from the bar because he was wasted, or you know, all these different things. So you know, it's very important that we do that. So going in that vein, what's one thing, if you could think of anything in relation to your dad that you thought was the most pivotal thing that he ever gave you, or maybe not given you as far as advice or how to move about things, that you still hold true as a grown man today?
Oh.
So I think what I got from, I could say that. So my dad, when he met my mom 4, 5, 6, had already had 4 kids, right? So, but my stepdad came. Well, not my step. My dad came, met my mom. Obviously, I wasn't born yet, but everything I heard prior to when my mom first met my dad, and then obviously me being conceived and growing up and being around it, he stepped up to the plate, right? He stepped up to the plate. He took care of everyone like it was theirs. So my mom side of the family, my grandma loved my dad. She as if he was her son. When my dad passed away, that hurt my grandma. I'd never forget it. She was like, "Take me too, Lord." Like that's how much she cared for my dad. And my grandma lived 16 years later to be 93. So I thank the Lord he didn't take her back then. But you know, she had that type of care for him and love for him. So as well as my brothers, my other sisters, cousins, uncles, aunt, like they looked at my dad like, hey, yeah, he's part of us. So I say that to say I experienced a lot of that over my grown adulthood, is, you know, getting in type of relationships where if you meet a woman and she has kids, you take them on as if you got to kind of accept that, right? You got to accept that. And so that's something he taught me, like no matter who you deal with, if you want to deal with this woman and be in a relationship with this person, I mean, they have kids and they have this, and when you take on that, you don't take on unless you decide that's what you want to be and that's who you want to be with. It ain't just her no more. You got to step up and be a role model. You got to do for her, do for them, all those type things. And that's something that I think I've just always got, because I've always been a helpful type person, get your shirt off my back and things like that. Now, it can hurt you too, because I've seen things that my mom done, my family's done, my dad is just, my dad had some downfalls, not to put the family business out there like that, but because of the family. And I went through some of that, even with, relationship I was in, taking care of people's kids. Some things, it's some good and some bad that come out of it. But he instilled enough to me. It's like, listen, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be part of a woman life to have kids, you got to set the examples. You got to be there. You just got to take on the road. That's what you can't have the woman without not having her kids. So I say that was one of the things. It taught me to be a man and being able to take care of responsibilities and helping, be what's the word I'm looking for? Being present. I mean, and really present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that out, not just for myself, but as for the viewers as well, because growing up in church, that's one of those Sundays that I missed. You hear what I mean? So I'm glad to hear examples like that, because I'm just the opposite. And I don't feel no way toward the kids or whatever, but I'm one of those people, especially at this stage in life, like if I'm interacting with a young woman, a young lady, or I'm interested in her, like I have this is my mindset, and I could be wrong, but my mindset always been, I'm having a relationship with you, not you, your mother and your father, or you and your children. Those are not my kids. So I don't want even if we get married, no, they can't call me daddy. Like, I'm not their father. They can call me Mr. Whoever, or whatever. You know how things go. So it's interesting to hear that you say that wrong, because it's like, it makes me just, maybe I should rethink. Not that I will change my position, but maybe I should rethink my position on this side of things, because it is definitely valid, and that's unfortunately, that's not been a problem that I've run into, because most of the women that I would date, since being divorced, their kids are grown. So that's not a factor. You know what I'm saying? It's like when they're young, though. And like you said, I'm glad that you pointed that out too, because there are risks involved. You know what I mean? Here it is. I don't care that you're not my biological child. You know what I mean? You take them on as such. Then something happened with you and the mother. You know what I mean? Now you don't build this relationship, and she get that kid out your life. Now nobody's checking on you to see how emotionally scarred you are from that. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, man. I respect all the dads out there. Like I said, all the stepdads that step in and play that role, man.
Yeah, no, I've been. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's because you do build that bond, and not to throw it out there. I was dealing with someone when I met her. She was married with 2 kids, and we were together 7 years or so, something like that, around that time. And
hold on, bro, you telling too much. You said when y'all met, she was married with 2 kids.
She was 2. She had 2 kids. She was previously married prior to that.
I got you.
Yeah,
but when I met her, we wasn't close. She ended up getting pregnant by someone else. When I had first met, like we had just came across each other, kind of ran into each other, and then, but he wasn't around after I kind of got closer with her. He wasn't. I was the father.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm with you. I got you.
And then it didn't work out. 6 years later, and the girl called your dad, and you call her dad, and your folks think that's your daughter, and all of that. Then something happened, and you like, oh, I can't do this no more. Oh, well, you're not her dad no more. You know what I'm saying? So you go through stuff like it's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? But I already know that the little girl always gonna remember me no matter what, because she ain't have to want for nothing.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate on the other side. That's a whole nother topic one day we could talk about.
Yeah, we can get into that.
I think those are the type of topics that need to be had too, because you got
because it really happens.
For mamas on Mother's Day, but sometimes some of them, just that scenario right there, was no reason why the little daughter should have been affected, because we wasn't working out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's definitely another topic for another show. I definitely make sure I remember to have you back on that, because I say at the same time, like, it kind of bothers me. And I get it, our mothers, we are part of them. We're literally growing inside of them for 9 months. We're a part of them. But I just don't understand how, you know what I mean, growing up in the hood, you can see, people that's in the game, you had jokers that would sell bottles to their mother, or you know what I mean, it was accessible to them. But if their father was in the same situation as an addict, man, man, if you come around me, you know what I mean, it's this thing. It seems like we have so much more grace for our mothers, and that's, like you said, that's a topic in itself that I want to definitely dive into at another time. But what you have for us, Ty?
I would say what I gained or learned from my father is being a godly man.
Okay.
Irregardless if I did wrong or was doing something wrong, was to maintain my faith and my belief that it's all going to work out for the better or for the good, as long as that's what my intention is. You know, I'm sure all of us have done some things that, you know, will be considered bad or whatever it may be, but that doesn't make you a bad person.
Right.
You know, so my dad always instilled in me, you know, ask for forgiveness and learn. You know, let's say the interaction was with a person. You know, apologize, ask for forgiveness, in any situation it may be, and work to make it better. And you know, I would say he did that from you know, my name, like, you know, he gave me my name and the meaning of my name and everything. So Tahi means a reflection of he in like Christianity, and in Islam it means like it's all good. So statement, it's all Tahi. And you know, when he told me like the definition of my name, you know, I felt as though I live that path. You know, I look to be a good example. I'm always out here trying to help somebody, you know, and not for sake of praise or from anybody else. I do a lot of stuff I ain't gonna never tell nobody that I did help somebody with or anything. You
That's
know,
just how we do. Yeah.
yeah, it's just what it is. You know, so I would say that is the number one thing, you know, outside of life. You know, like, yeah, we do grow up in the mom's belly, but you know, the dad got to plant that seed.
Period.
You know,
You can't be a single mother without that seed, bro.
yeah.
So we got our own contribution in itself, and not to go off on the Bible, but I was thinking about that even when I knew he was going to talk about this. You know, like it says in the Bible, and I know that doesn't apply for all the viewers because some people aren't Christian. But if you are a Christian and you are a believer, according to the Bible, one thing that it says, Ephesians 6:1, children obey their parents that your days may be longer. You know what I mean? It doesn't say obey your parents as long as you feel like it's justifiable or that you agree with them. It says obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right, that your days may be longer. So it doesn't matter whether you feel like they worthy of respect, honor, this or that. It doesn't change the fact that that's a commandment from God Almighty. So you should be willing to honor that. That's what it's. And one of the things that I always say is too, because I know people like that, you know, they got tumultuous relationships with their children, whatever. But one thing I always try to say, you know, when people talking to me about things dealing with their parents or, you know, challenges they face, one thing I always say is, look, I don't care how wrong you may feel like your parent is. If it wasn't for your parents, you would not be alive to feel any type of way. So that right there is alone enough to be thankful, whether you can't stand them or not. If it wasn't for them, you would not be alive to even feel any type of way.
Right.
So you have to be mindful of that and put things in perspective. Yeah, but before we wrapped up on Fatherhood, man, did y'all have anything else?
We forgot. Sam still got to answer that.
Okay, my bad, Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I don't know if my father was intentional, but he forced us to go to church every Sunday. He wasn't a religious man at all. And whether it was to get the three of us bad kids out the house, give him peace, you know, whatever the case. I remember as I got older, when I first got saved, and the man was like, you know, have you been baptized? And I was like, a lot. And he was like, a lot? What do you mean? And I said, I used to get baptized like every first Sunday. Because when I was a little kid, when he was putting us on that church bus to go to church, every first Sunday, I brought me some trunks because I'm like, I'm getting baptized today. Like, it was the thing to do. You know, we didn't understand it. But being there, learning the history, not just learning like scripture, because when you're little, you don't pay attention to scripture. But we were at a place where they taught us about the people, the actual people in there. Like we learned about Luke being a doctor and, you know, all these things. And I think those things stuck. But even though he sent us off, I definitely think that planted a lot of seeds outside of him showing us what it means for a man to protect, you know, to protect his child and or whoever he cares about. And what Rome was saying earlier, you know, about like relationships, like one thing with our son, I would tell him that the hardest, you go out here in the dating world, the hardest relationship that you're going to have is with a woman that has kids. And that's because with them, the woman is just you know, that she's dating or what. But we as men who love to protect, we don't connect just to the woman. We connect to every single child. So when that breakup happens, the woman is breaking up with one person. When that man breaks, you know, it's breaking 2 or 3 or even 4 relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even though us as men will say, because it's in our heart to want to protect, we'll be like, well, if I'm your daddy, I'm always your daddy. I'm gonna be there when you need me and all that. But soon as she gets into another relationship, that guy start pumping his chest, man, I got them. I got, you know, it just can be like various things. And that's why I try to advocate for, you know, just to be accountable, but also for young men to understand that a true father is a protector. He's supposed, I'm not talking about the love and hip hop type relationships or things like that where everything is just for flash or social media. I'm talking about providing to when that woman wakes up each morning or those kids wake up each morning, there will be shelter, there will be food, there will be clothing, there will be like those necessities and essentials. So it definitely hit what both Rome said and Tahi about God. You know, I think my dad definitely, whether it was direct or indirect, he definitely put God in my life. And you know, when I first got saved and he's like, "You've been saved before?" I said, "Yeah, a lot." And he's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, every first Sunday." You know, so it was like, but I felt I was also ahead in those things. So I'm definitely blessed that I had my father. And when I said earlier that he was stubborn, he was hard, and he was a cold man, that's something that I'm not looking as a negative, because when she listens to my sister or my older sister and my older brother, and she's like, "You guys avoid these kids." She's like, "We're all exactly like that. We don't know how to sugarcoat things. We're like West Indians. We only know how to tell you how it is. You know, we don't have bedside manner." Mm-hmm. And and I think we got that. You know, we all inherited that from being around our father. So. But I definitely appreciate everybody's insight on here.
Yeah, and you might want to check, Sam. You might be in the Guinness World Book of Records if you was getting baptized every Sunday. You might be the most baptized
every first Sunday.
They say, listen. They said I know people will go watch this if they are. They gonna be like, "Oh, he must have been bad every week."
Exactly. That's what I was thinking, bro. What was you doing that you had to get baptized at once a month? But
look, shout out to a lot of people don't know.
Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people don't know 3 kids that literally got kicked out of Germany. So we used to they used to have this thing called Negro knockings, and we introduced Germany to that. And we used to wreak havoc when our father he was a single parent, and you know, he was, as soon as he go to work with the army, we were in Frankfurt, but they would find us, the MPs, all the way in Grafenwehr, 3-4 hours away. Like we were a handful. So, you know, so I think all that baptizing was just maybe catching me up.
There you go.
Yeah, my man Marky, shout out to Marky. What's good, Marky? Marky said, never knew my dad, and that made me become a better father. And I hear that a lot. Julian said, my dad taught me always be a man, never fight over a woman, never start a fight, always defend yourself, and always throw the first punch. Take care of your family, work honestly. Too bad I went sideways on the last one. Hey, but look, as long as you got breath in your body, bro, and I'm just saying publicly, I'm proud of everything that you're doing now. You know what I mean? You might have felt like you went sideways or you came up short on the last one, but while you got breath in your body, bro, it's still time to correct that wrong. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like it was a wrong, not saying that you were wrong or you know what I mean? I'm biased, but just keep showing up. That's one of the things that I showed up on. I put on my post on Sunday morning in terms of Father's Day with one of the songs that I posted. At the end of the day, keep showing up. You know what I mean? At the end of that's because that's what really matters at the end of the day. You know, that we just keep showing up. What was it? Sam had said something. But I think that was pivotal too, and that was good, Sam, too, as well. You know, like I said, as far as that's what I was going to say. Thank you. So for all the ladies that are out there watching, I need y'all to really hear me or hear my intent behind this statement. Don't take it personal. Don't be offensive, right? But a lot of times, you know, I know women that are going through things, and when it comes to parenting or co-parenting, they don't always see eye to eye with the father or the male in the particular situation. Understand, God created a mother the same way he created a father. You know what I mean? We have different roles to play. You feel what I'm saying? When you know, Ty, he could attest to this. Me and Ty worked at the airport together. You know what I mean? We were all, I won't say no, because we don't get no sponsorship and no nothing else. I won't say no airlines. But the particular airline that we worked for, we were employees of that airline. And guess what? So were the pilots. But the pilots had a role to play. So that we had, as Rampages, had a part to play. But we was a part of the same company, had the same objective, had the same end goal. So I said all that to say is you don't always have to understand your husband, your baby daddy, the sperm donor, however you refer to him as. You don't always have to see eye to eye with him. And I actually hate that term. That's why I'm kind of mad at myself for even saying it. I get pissed off when I hear women say that. Because we'll never hear you say you was the egg host. You know, all mothers aren't good mothers, but this not that show. We're not gonna get into bad mothers and all that there. But my point was, at the end of the day, you don't always have to agree with how the father goes about disciplining that child, the choices that he make. You don't have to go with that. Just know that he's showing up for his child, whether you agree with it or not. He's being there for his child in certain, you know, in different situations. So it's important to be mindful of that, because, you know, we talked about it on a previous show before when Live was on here. One of the things that I stand by is just because, and this is not just romantic relationship. This goes in terms of any relationship, friendship, romantic relationship, friendship, or whatever the case may be. Just because I don't show you that I love you the way that you want to be loved does not negate the fact that I do love you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't tell me, well, if you really love me, then you would have did X, Y, Z. No, because I don't do X, Y, Z don't mean that I don't love you. You know what I mean? You just don't feel that I love you, but you can't tell me how it is that I feel. You can't tell me that I don't care about being a father. You can't tell me that, you know what I mean? So I just need for women to understand that or hear that from a male's perspective that you won't always see eye to eye or you won't always understand things when it comes to men fathering, but we have two different roles to play. You guys are the nurturer. Like you said, Sam told you. And I always try to tell people, I plan on being cremated, but if I did have a tombstone, that would be on my tombstone. Well, my original saying used to be like, I can show don't take my kindness for weakness. But other than that, I always trying to say I live by what I live by present day is I can show you better than I can tell you. So, like to the point that Sam was talking about earlier, I don't really care if you tell me that you love me 100 times a day. If your actions don't show that you love me, those words mean nothing. I would rather you show me that you love me on a consistent basis every single day, as opposed to actually telling me. I don't never need to hear those words, me personally, if I know that you love me and I can see that you love me. You know what I mean? Because that's very important too. Ty said a great way to save photos, and videos. Your photos can be uploaded to TikTok up to 35 at a time. Makes a reel, share that same reel to your YouTube. It's there forever. She videos YouTube can make private as well. Absolutely. Yeah, TikTok, and that's the thing in this day and age that we live. We got so many different resources. I just got to I do better at myself and learn how to maneuver things and different things of that nature. But yeah, it's important that we use the tools that we have available to us. Because like you said, there's no telling how long it's going to be here, how long it won't be here. But I'm trying to put everything that I have, all my pictures, on a doc. That's why I was glad that I did create the YouTube show when I did, because Facebook done switched up. So half the old shows that used to be, you go to my page and watch on YouTube. Now they want to delete them after a certain amount of days. But that don't matter. I don't care if you delete them on YouTube. I mean on Facebook, because you go to the YouTube channel and you go all the way back to the very first episode of the Marvin Bennett Jr. show and see all the shows up to the day. So it's important that we build legacies for our children, be active in our children's lives. And like I said, at the end of the day, man, just keep showing up. You don't have to, people don't have to understand your choices or your decisions, but just keep showing up for your kids, man. Did y'all have anything else on fatherhood before we got up out of here?
No, I appreciate the platform you gave us this evening. I think I learned a lot. I always tell people, always be open to hearing other point of views, and that's how we learn how to have empathy and understand others.
Yep.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Ty?
Indeed, most definitely, especially from the different perspectives as well, and experience raising the kids. I would say that is probably the best thing. Being able to share it with other people and making it impactful, like putting it out here on social media where some people may have similar experiences or may be able to relate to what we're talking about. I feel like it's one of the things that we miss now. Not having the older people around. A lot of times, a lot of these I had a dude, I gave him a ride earlier, young man. He's a flight attendant, and he's rushing to work, right? And you know what he asked me? He said, "You know how to tie a tie?" And I was like, "I sure do. My grandfather taught me." Mm-hmm. So I took a couple minutes and I shared with how to tie a tie with this young man, and he was so appreciative. Like, thank you. And I didn't go into anything like saying, this or that or whatever. But a lot of times what young men are missing now is an older man helping them along the way, showing them how to tie a tie, open a door for a lady, just being, doing things that men do. Like you said, providing for them. A lot of times, we being fathers, and being an example to as a father to other people, and we don't know it just because that's what we do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. And I guess I'll say this, Marvel, after is, you know how you got manuals for everything, manuals for cars, manual for new TVs, manual for everything. It's
Doesn't
not a
come with
manual, it doesn't come with it, but it can be very similar, right? Even those things that have manuals, right, still have hiccups along the way, right?
Yeah.
You use the manual sometimes to be able to say, okay, how can I boom, 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 but just like a car, it got a manual in there. We know it tells you everything, but you got to keep that maintenance on that car year round, right? The same thing like fatherhood too, right? You always got to be able to, put maintenance on yourself, right? As a father, and be like, okay, let me fine tune this. Maybe I didn't handle this situation right with my child, right? Maybe and I think Sam said it earlier when he said he talked about this having a B. Yeah, he gonna go get this up. And then he said maybe he could have handled it a little differently, but that's how he did it, right? That's how it was and things like that. But so there's really no manual of being a great father, or the best father in the world award or whatever. There's really no manual, man, because I'm sure we've all failed somewhere along the way. We're like, man, yeah, dang, I ain't handled that right, or I could have did better, better there. But that's what makes a great father to me too, though, because you understand, hey, maybe I didn't handle this situation right. Maybe I could have did this, or maybe I could have put 5 more minutes in to throw the football with him, and maybe they would have helped get him over the top. I don't know. So it's just about trial and error too. But then once you can kind of fine tune it and keep it at a steady, keep progressing and things like that, it's like, okay, I think I got a manual, but I'm still got to make sure I check the tires every day on this thing. Every day I get up, right? I got to check the tires, check to make sure I got gas in the car, make sure I got life in me to be a great father, or the best father I can be.
Yeah, and you 1,000% right on that, Rome, because that's another thing that I wanted to reiterate too. A lot of times, I just want the ladies out there that viewing to understand we are fully aware, and we are accountable that we do make mistakes, and that's not predicated upon whether we share with you or not. You know what I mean? There's man, like you said, Rome. Sorry, I'm quite sure each one of us could look back on situations and you're like, I could have handled that differently. But because we don't share with other people, don't mean that we don't have to come to that realization either. You know what I mean? And what we do, we learn from it, we process it, we learn from it, and hopefully we'll move better going forward. But I'm glad you said it, because I say it all the time, and I just didn't want to sound repetitive, bro. But I always talk about that, like you said, whether you talk about parenting, whether you talk about marriage, these things don't come with a manual. And just because, even when it's in terms of marriage, just because it worked for Big Mom and Papa, don't mean it worked for your parents. And what worked for your parents might not necessarily work for your marriage. It does not come with a manual. You have to dictate your manual. You have to write your own manual in terms of marriage, and especially fatherhood. You know what I mean? That's why I think that we got to be very careful. I remember, I don't know, because I'm not in touch with the youth like that. But I remember I would hear certain girls in high school always ready to have a baby because I want somebody that's gonna always love me. Darling, that's not the case, and that is definitely the last reason you should be having a child, because I worked at a hospital and it used to baffle me. I wouldn't even know it was a thing until I worked at a hospital. It used to literally baffle me, and I thought it was insane how many people literally, I would see people drop their parents off at the hospital and know that they never ever coming back to get them. They literally leaving them at the hospital to die, whether they're in bad health, good health, or no indifferent. You know what I mean? Like, I would have never known that was a thing unless I actually seen it with my own eyes. So it's very important that, like, if God has allowed you to be a parent, take it wisely. Rome hit it on the head earlier with nephew. I know for me personally, and even with the hey, what's good, Will? Even with my godchildren or my nieces and nephews or whatever, like, it'd be certain times where my phone will ring or I get a text, and it's never a time that my sons call me that I'm not answering the phone. You know what I mean? I don't care where I am, what I'm doing. When I see that name pop up on my phone, oh, I feel some type of different way because whether they want something or whether they don't want something, or just call it means something to me to see my child's name actually calling me. You know what I mean? So treasure those moments, and keep on being the dads that you guys are. Those that are watching, you guys keep being better. If you're a good dad, work on being great. If you're a great dad, work on being better. If you're already better, hey, kudos to you. You know what I mean? But keep striving. And if you don't necessarily, you don't have to just do it to like the panel said. It's not something that just applies to your biological children. You could be that father figure to others as well. You know what I mean? Because everybody needs somebody, and we're all a community. So it's important for all of us to help us grow. I remember I heard what Rose said earlier, as well as Sam. I got a box over there, and if I'd have known I would have get into it, I would have pulled it out. But I literally have an old tin box, my Timberlands that they come in, keep all my boxes. I literally got a tin box. If you look in it, you'll see old receipts, envelopes, random pieces of paper, all kind of things. Because to Sam's point, when my youngest son started playing basketball in high school, I didn't miss a game. Freshman, JV, varsity, it ain't matter. I'm going to every single game. But what I did was I wouldn't sit with their mother. I wouldn't sit with the other parents. I'm sitting on the other side of the court because I'm watching through a different lens. I'm watching as dad. So in this box that I'm telling you about, this 10 box, every single game, I can pull one out. I wish I had it over here so I can pull one out. But you'll see Broughton, October such and such, 2012. My youngest son, he went in the game at this particular point in the first quarter. He got this many fouls. I got everything. I kept my own stats. This was a dumb foul. You should have never did it. So I could critique it with him after every game. But every single game, I got all his stats. Nah, you talking about you had 14. Nah, bro, I counted. You was only 3 for 11 tonight. So I don't know where you getting those other points because I'm keeping my own stats. But that was just something personal to me that he don't even know to this day that I did, unless he actually sees this. He still don't know that I have all of this, as far as receipts. But that meant something to me as a father. I didn't do that to, for coaches to say, oh, man, he's a great dad, or for his coaches to say great. That was something that was personal for me because I do value being a father, and it means a great deal to me. So, all you dads, man, you guys keep on being great. We're going to get out of here real soon. I don't know if you got to go, Ty, because I know you got work to do. I don't know much more longer you got, Ro. But I had one other thing that I kind of wanted to get into tonight, just briefly. I don't know if you guys all seen it, but I posted it on my page. I believe it was Sunday, or might have been yesterday. You guys that are watching via YouTube, let me know if you guys can hear this. So I can't show it, but I can play the tape.
Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a road,
can you guys hear it?
In Brevard County, you are going to jail.
Yeah.
Let me get it to the beginning. So this is the sheriff down in Florida.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail titled because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
So did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
I posted it, and people been chiming in on my comments, but this was something that I just kind of wanted to talk about. And you guys hear that? How does that make you feel? I'll let you go first, Ty, because you drive.
Yeah, that make me feel type of way because he's basically threatening the public with violence. Like, I feel like the audacity of, I would assume that he's a sheriff or something,
Yeah, he's the sheriff.
so he most likely had to be elected to this position. That he feels the freedom, I guess, of speech that he could talk like this. To everybody, like, but this is the reason why
Watching what's taking
I saw some of the comments. I guess you posted it yesterday.
Mhm.
The comments about Trayvon Martin. Florida's a dangerous place for black people to be because that's who he was speaking to.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he was speaking to us about, or brown skinned people, Latinos. Regardless of what they think they are, they're of African descent.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they got melanin in their skin. So I just thought that was atrocious.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my take. What you got, Ro?
I mean, I agree. I mean, I just think it was when you're in roles like that, because to me, like you said, you're elected. If you're a sheriff, you was elected, so you are considered a public servant. What you call it?
yeah, public servant.
So you're a leader, right? Whether you are Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever it is, you are a leader, and you have to lead by example. And so all he did was tell people that supports him in a way that, hey, if somebody does this to me too, I can retaliate the same way. So all it is going to create more chaos in your city, your state, and more work for you and your officers to do, and things like that. Yeah, I think if I lived there, I would just probably be like, oh yeah, I'm working remotely till y'all figure some stuff out. Because what if I am driving around or riding around and one day I get out my car or something like that, y'all might be posted up somewhere. I might be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't want to have to be able to do that. So I just think it's poor leadership. It gives dictatorship. It gives Hitler vibes. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but you got a person that leads the country doing the same thing. It's like, it's the norm, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And for those that are viewing, I promise you, the Marvin Bennett Jr. show in the last 5 years we've been doing this, it is totally unscripted. That's one reason we go live at 8 o'clock every Tuesday night. It's totally unscripted. Half the time they don't know what we're going to be talking about, the questions, whatever. I just told these fellas that I wanted to talk about father and see if they was available tonight. They didn't even know that I was going to bring this up. I just wanted to put that out there before, I say what I say, and before I read some of the comments on the post. But what's your take, Sam?
We touched on this earlier, and me and my wife, we're definitely familiar with the area, Brevard County, down there, Deerfield Beach. They have the issue with all the kids jumping the teachers. It's just crazy down there. Mm-hmm. And what Tahi and what Rom touched on, I definitely understand their perspective. But when, I think when I look at the context, that statement was before the No King's Day on the 14th. Mm-hmm. So where they had all these protests all around the country, they had it here in downtown Raleigh. Mm-hmm. But there was a few looters downtown Raleigh. There was a few people vandalizing cars. But the one thing that didn't happen in Texas and it didn't happen in Florida, there was zero property damage, zero car burns, zero robberies, and zero looting. Like when you have something, if it's just something out of the blue and somebody says that, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna feel that same energy. Like why is he saying this out of the blue or this? But it's in preparation. But you look 5-6 days later, they still burning cars in LA. They still doing all that stuff right there because people feel like they can do it. So I think what they did was they kept a lot of stuff from happening. And when we talk about like, black or people of color, I'm black. I don't like the people of color because most Hispanic folks don't care about black folks. So I'm gonna focus on black folks. So these terms like people of color and all this, I can care less. But I do know majority of the people out there protesting is entitled white folks that grew up with both parents in a home, probably went to private school, private college. They have no accountability and they feel like they can fire off whatever they want to say because that's how entitled they are. When you look at all these protests, even downtown Raleigh, it was 90% white folks. Well, I'll crank that down to 80%. 15% Hispanics, and the last 5% was brothers and sisters with pink hair. Like it's that certain demographic. So if they're gonna threaten majority of white folks, like I can care less. That ain't my fight. I focus. Let's look at Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, all these. So like we black folks have enough to focus on rather than getting convinced by other races that their fight is our fight.
Right.
We got our own fight. We have to fix our own house before we focus on other houses. That's like the U.S. is going to all these countries doing some things. Let's fix this because every country that's gotten better in the last 4 years, guess what? They have zero immigration. Zero. So it's like, let's fix home first. But, in the context of when he gave that statement before to foreshadow the 14th, I don't see anything wrong with it because the results speak for itself. California didn't say nothing. Look what's happening. Texas said something. Florida said the exact same thing. Look what happened. So it's like when I was in the military, every Friday they give their safety brief. When I became a platoon sergeant, I give my safety brief. Hey, y'all, don't drink and drive. Wear your seatbelt. Come back here alive or I'm going to kill you. Like you give a warning before the weekend because soldiers going to do stupid stuff. So I, in the context of when it was given, I didn't see anything wrong with it because we're definitely familiar with that county. It's 30 minutes north of Miami.
Okay, got you. Yeah. So these are the comments some of the comments, I'm not gonna read all of them, but some of the comments. My man Rock, he's in the security as well. So I get it. He said, no problem at all. If you want to march with your signs, no problem. If you want to buck and act like fools, you will get problems. And he is giving folks down there warnings and in a play sheet. No problem at all. My man Gene, who's a Florida resident, Gene said, how about your president and elected officials putting y'all in harm's way because they being effing stupid? And who the F is any of them chasing? I ain't young no more, and I'm not running. I'm out running them. F out of here, fat boy. Letting this dude get them hyped up. Nobody is attacking law enforcement in numbers like he's making it seem. They may have seen some things happen after an altercation and called them the instigator. This Florida though, so that type of stuff go and pop off. So another comment said that if my man Nate said that if you are peacefully protesting, you should have no issue. But if you do something stupid like throwing a brick or participating in a riot, you get what you will get. We all have to see protesters do stupid stuff, then get angry when repercussions come back on them. Can't be angry with this sheriff. He told them straight up. Now, if they do something and get shot, what can you say? But told you so. So I replied to that particular comment. I hear what you're saying, but I've also seen peaceful protests that people were harmed for no reason other than hiding than them hiding behind the badge and their uniform. I'm not mad at his entire statement, but I also know that all the Floridians that I know personally, their mentality is going to be, thanks for the warning of my family will be picking up my remains. Because now that I know that I'm going to bust first, and my family will not be the only family that's picking up remains. So then one more, the last comment said, I don't see anything wrong with what he said. He clearly stated by saying, if you resist lawful order, you're going to jail. Before anyone steps outside the bounds of peaceful protesting and starts breaking the law or becoming violent, they need to understand the law of that specific state. In this case, Florida is a conservative, stand your ground state. They don't tolerate that kind of lawlessness you often see in many liberal states. A perfect example, last year in New York City, a group of illegal immigrants were arrested, robbing multiple people. One of them admitted that they would steal from individuals in New York and use the money made from it going to the party in Florida. When asked by law enforcement why not just steal in Florida, he replied, we can't get away with crimes like this down in Florida like we do here in New York. So I replied to that. I personally replied to that one and said, I'm glad you brought all that up. Why? Because it exposes the hypocrisy. And this is just my opinion. In your assessment, in the case of Florida, they don't tolerate lawlessness. All right. So we've heard the tapes. We saw the trial where the law told Zimmerman, do not follow that young man. Leave him alone. Right? He chose to ignore the law, went to trial, and beat it after breaking the law and ending someone's life. You can't tell me race doesn't doesn't matter in the USA. On January 6, 2021, we seen numerous people breaking the law at the highest level ever. And the first thing Mr. Orange did was pardon them when he got reelected. If you break the law, there should be consequences. But don't use scare tactics, intimidation, and threatening to me to prove a point. And the reason that I said all of that was to your point, and I'm not going to go back and forth and all that. He responded to that by saying, yeah, stay on topic. With people using this, using protests for and cause violence. Okay, so after I read the comment this morning, I spent the hour on YouTube to the point that you was making earlier, Sam. When I looked it up on YouTube, I'm specifically looking for violent acts during protests in the state of Florida. I looked for a whole hour. You know how many videos I seen? Zero.
I was about to say
zero. But my point is, if you got a history of that, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but if you got a history of that in that community, I understand it. But I haven't seen anything that he was talking about. So I feel like it was uncalled for and unnecessary because, like I said, most people, when you hear something like that, like Ron was saying, okay, all right, thanks for warning me, bro. Like, it's like you inciting violence by talking about what you're not going to tolerate. Nobody's doing that. I can see if it was if a sheriff in California said that, well, what's going on in California? This wasn't a situation. All these people out there, they were peacefully protesting. And I've been a part of protests where I've seen people peacefully protesting that get abused by police. You know what I mean? It's like you hiding behind that badge. So, like I said, I thought it was uncalled for. And it's one thing for you to lay down the law and be strict on your position. But the minute you mention talking about chances are your family going to be picking up your remains, now I got a problem. Because like Ty said, I take that as a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And then thank God I'm an older man now because the 20-year-old version of me, like I said, now I'm ready to go looking for some smoke. Because in Florida, everybody carries. They different in Florida. Florida's like its own country. You know what I'm saying? So it's like word.
What's about to happen in North Carolina?
Huh?
I said they about to remove the concealed carry here in North Carolina.
I was seeing that in the news last week. Yeah.
It's gonna go through because I've been following it because my wife, we stay loaded. I mean, we stay ready. And the one thing that I'll tell people, like here in North Carolina, they used to have the purchase permit laws that was created that, like, anytime you go to buy a firearm, they do your background check. They do it through the NIC system. And so that's automatic. When you go to the sheriff's office, you get that permit, you can get up to five or six permits at one time, and it's good for 2 years. Well, if you have it for 2 years, and let's say a year down the line, you beat up your wife or you beat up your girl or somebody, when you're like, you can't do that. I could literally take that permit, and the gun dealer don't have to do a background check because I have that purchase permit from the sheriff's office. Now, once that, all the sheriffs didn't want to do it because when I researched it, Duke University did a study. The reason why they incorporated that the sheriff's office pistol purchase permit was to keep black folks from arming themselves against the Klan. So that sheriff had the ability. You didn't have to have a record or not. When you applied for that permit back in the 60s, well, starting around 1954-ish, that sheriff could look at you, deny, put a red stamp on it, deny, and then approve, whatever. That's how they disarm the black community from fighting the Klan. So I just think that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that's around. And Marvin, you listen to my podcast and the other ones that I'm on, I shoot it to you sometimes. I'm unaffiliated. You know, I don't like politicians, period. I'm registered unaffiliated. And I tell people all the time, like, I listen to not just the wordplay, but I listen to the action. And some of it may be due for me being a soldier, you know, just being around the world to see how good it is here, you know, but it's one of those things that, you know, I wish the black community, I wish we would like stop being manipulated by these crazy entitled white folks that don't have no accountability because the way they was brought up, you know, and we just have to start doing that because we keep getting promised that our priorities are first. Once the election's over, we get pushed right back to the end of the line. So I just think, you know, at one point, when we talk about being a father, you know, if I'm a father and let's say Rome is my son, he's 15 years old, and I tell Rome on the first of the month, I'm getting you a cell phone. You're going to get your first cell phone. Rome going to be excited. He's going to be, oh, I'm about to, all these honeys, I'm about to call up even the married one with the 2 kids, you know, and the first of the month come.
The days over.
The first of the month come, and guess what happens? The father says, oh, not this first of the month, the next first of the month. Well, the way this generation is now, I'm talking about the 19 to 29-year-olds, you tell them something, they're going to say, okay, they're going to give you one chance. But then that second time you renege on it, they're going to go to give somebody else a chance. They're going to go to their mom. And that's what literally happened, I think, you know, with all this politics. The 19 to 29-year-olds, they got tired of hearing, you know, what's going to be done, and nothing happened. So they gave somebody else a chance. That's how you double your votes in every single demographic by telling people, vote for me. What do you got to lose? You've been voting a certain way for 50, 60, 70 years, and you still last in wealth. You still last in this. So give me one election, one chance. If you don't like it, hey, you can vote for somebody else. And the 19 to 29-year-olds, and I keep saying that demographic because that's our future. You know, those are the next leaders. I'm not saying that the 30, you know, to 55 ain't leaders. but they're most of them are already leaders, whether in the community, out in the corporate world, you know, whether it's a gang, they the unks, they the OGs that's running things.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones coming up are these 19 to 29 who cares about one thing: their money, their how much they're gonna be when they work hard. You know, they don't want to hardly work. So when they do work, they want more money, and then they don't want to have to pay all these things on taxes and stuff. So that's how them jokers are coming over. So I just think that we need to start treating every situation in our life like a father. You know, like if you say one thing my father did, he did what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't no 2 weeks later, or you're gonna have to wait. He literally did everything he said, you know, when he said he was gonna do it. So I think we just have to start holding the community accountable. Us as men, we have to be fathers to our community, and we have to start holding. I hold my son accountable. Any father holds their kids accountable for their actions. So we need to start doing that to our community, because we can't rely on white folks to fix our community. I'm not going to let no crazy white dude be the father or the mentor to my son when I know he don't know the path that our ancestors have taken.
Absolutely.
You know, so I didn't mean to go off all that, but it's just you know, I don't, you know me, I don't like all the smoke, the screens, the mirage, the smoke and mirrors. I don't like the TV media, because it's like while they're telling us to point the finger at some military parade that don't have nothing to do with nobody here but recruitment for the army, we've paying all our attention while we got a sister that got killed by 6 Mexicans that's been deported 3 times, you know, go on the way to South Carolina for a girls weekend. And nobody had mentioned that sister because who she was killed by.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think we have to start owning up and being fathers in this community.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you're 1,000% right. I'm with you 100%, and that's a big part of it too, because like you say, it's important that you do what you say and say what mean what you say is mean, say what you mean and mean what you say. That's the gist of it. But that his statements, I thought it was over the top. I wasn't mad at the sentiment. I just thought it was done differently. It's like I said, I took it back to, like, you know, when you kids, you know, you start seeing the commercials. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. You see the cigarettes. Why you said smoke cigarette commercials? My daddy was running in. I was never thinking about smoking cigarettes.
Can I ask you one thing, Marvin? Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
What he said, the intent, did it have the impact that he meant for it to have? His intent was, no, don't break the law, don't riot, don't throw no bricks at no police. No, did it work? Did they have any of that?
That's hard to gauge for me personally, and not trying to debate you on it. It's just hard to gauge because it's easy to say that now, but we haven't seen any footage or anything of it happen. But it could have been in those situations, even if he hadn't said that. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say that it impacted that was the reason. Him saying that was the reason that nothing jumped off. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, the people that I seen out there protesting, they all was already peaceful. So you wasn't even talking about those type of people. Those people out there singing Kumbaya and everything. You wasn't worried about them, but you wasn't letting them know. You know what I mean? And you know, for the other comment that like somebody said, you know, you got to stop bringing race and everything. And I'm like, I can't do that, because as an American citizen and as a black man in America, race is a part of our culture, period. You know what I mean? We just seen this whole weekend where they finally got dude that supposedly, you know, shot these people and everything else. The Democratic Party had a whole list. Not one time in all the reporting, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, or none of these people, none of that I see them talk about this dude being a murderer or a killer. They talk about him in the most nicest way, but let it have been a black person, and oh my goodness, the injustice.
No, You know why you ain't heard? Because he worked for the governor of Wisconsin, Tim Walz. He actually appointed him, and some of the charges that he got on the board that he was appointed to by the governor, he used his position to go into the computer system to locate all the home addresses of all these people.
Oh, word.
That's literally like he was appointed. He was a government official appointed by the governor. That's why, because he's registered Democrat, they ain't saying nothing. Because they don't want that out there. But I can tell you, if that joker had a Make America Great Again, or he even donated $5 to the GOP, he would have been all over the news. Come on, that's the reason why you haven't heard it. Like there was a dang on senator who was giving gold bars with the Chinese emblem on it. Senator Mendez, him and his wife had gold bars in the house with Russian stamps, Chinese stamps, hundreds, like millions of dollars in their house. You ain't heard anything about it.
Nah, I haven't.
because of his Google Senator Mendez, and it's gonna show the bags, the Gucci bags filled with just 100. Like they walk around like they Floyd Mayweather because they was trying to escape to Russia. You ain't hear nothing because of their party affiliation. If you just watch CNN or MSN or ABC or something like that, you won't see that because they don't want to report the truth. They just want to report against their enemy or the opposition. And I think that goes both ways. You know, that goes on both sides. That's why I chose to become unaffiliated, because ever since I've been unaffiliated, I get calls to be on a poll. I was on Cheryl Beasley's panel when she was running for Senate. If I was registered as a Democrat, guess what? I wouldn't have got no calls, because when you register as a political party, 95% of people are going to vote for that party no matter what. So why are they hunting for your vote? In North Carolina, 33% of voters are unaffiliated or independent. Whoever wins those votes are the ones that's going to win the office or win the governorship. So that's why they're blowing them up on the phone. That's why, you know me, I try to get everybody to become unaffiliated, because that way your vote becomes more, your voice is no longer a whisper. It's a shout. They have to call you and ask you what you need. What are you wanting to do? I told Cheryl Beasley to her face she was going to get blown out. And I told her the reason why, and her assistant fact checked what I said, and she still ran against it. I told her, I said, you talking about removing AR-15s, you're going to fight for that. And I told her the number one purchaser of AR-15s in North Carolina were Black women. Her assistant, she pulled up all the stats. I said, ma'am, you trying to unarm all these Black women. You lost their vote. Like, everybody wants to be able to defend themselves. You got more Black women buying homes by themselves. Guess what? They want something in there. So when somebody come kicking in the door, they got something in their arms that's easy to aim, 3 points of contact. And all you got to do is a lever switch, no pushing buttons to push them right back out the door. So I just think we have to start, you know, right now, the Black community and us fathers, we're whispering because we're too easily getting in line, stepping in line with the norm. You know, like we talk about Malcolm X or MLK, but that's all we do now is talk about them, how they stepped outside the norm, got away from those things. But now we're in compliance. And when anybody tries to, like when Ice Cube tried to say, hey, I reached out to everybody about the $400 billion platinum plan and all this. He said he reached out to most people.
Yeah.
One group, one side said, when we win, we'll hit you back up and do it.
Mhm.
The other one put it on his website. This
Yeah.
is amazing. Let's do it.
Mhm.
When they won the election, Ice Cube tried to hit him up, didn't even pick up the phone no more.
Mhm. Exactly.
That's the stuff right there that I tell folks, don't stop worrying about these dang on parties and worry about your community.
The local community, yeah. I'm with you. And stop being taken advantage of. Whether you're a Democrat
Yeah.
or a Republican, that's the way I look at it. Like, stop being taken for granted. Okay, like you say, oh, I'm just gonna vote all this side, the whole left side of the poll. No, you need to be able to vote who you agree, because you're not going to think about it rationally. You're not going to align with no party or no candidate all the way down the bar. So it should be case by case, whether it's gun law, whether it's this, whether it's that. You know what I mean? And I know I'm always on the minority, but me personally, just on a personal level, I'm anti-guns, because I always say this is my thing, and I get everybody whole argument. I see Tudor in the comment. I had sent him the link in case he wanted to chime in. He's our guns expert on the show. I had him on talking about different guns situations earlier. But my thing is just simple logic. If you don't have guns, by default, you got less gun violence. you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. Now I understand everybody want to be able to protect themselves, and that thing's there. But if you don't have, you got other countries that their crime rates are down, where their police officers does not even carry weapons. You know what I mean, or guns, so to speak. How many gun violence do they have over there? Zero. So
yeah, but their police officers also go to, like in Europe, they also have to have a 4-year degree. Like, it's not like here in the US where you go to BLET training over in Garner or in Salemburg, North Carolina. 6 weeks later, you qualified to like enforce the law.
Yeah.
Over there in Europe, they have to they literally have a college degree in it. They have to.
And I wish it was like that over here too.
Oh, it should be. I mean, it takes you longer to get a hair license, a beauty hair,
I swear I was about
than
to
it
say
does to hold and wield a gun and a badge.
Yeah. And that's
like,
sad.
make sense.
It's sad and it's public information, but to think that you got to go to cosmetology school, it takes longer to become a hairdresser, or to work at a beauty shop than it does to have a gun and a badge. And I don't think that everybody should be able to sign up to be an officer, period. Because if I know that, if I went to school with you from 3rd grade to 12th grade, and I know that you got bullied all your life, you're the last person I want to see with a gun and a badge.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that you have that position or you have that power, you're going to take advantage of it. You're not going to be picked on anymore. Now you're going to become the bully. Now you're going to be taking everybody else's lunch money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just think that is a slippery slope, man. Well, we're going to get out of here on that there, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank all my panel for taking out the time to chop it up with me. Y'all brothers know I already love y'all, man. And it's always good chopping it up with my boys. Bro, we got to get together soon, man. It's been too long. We got to see each other. What was it, Christmas? But yeah, we got to link up, bro. Break some bread together, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. But happy Father's Day to all you guys again. My man Rob was in the comments. Rob was viewing rather. He's at work. And he said happy Father's Day to all you guys too, and happy Heavenly Born Day to his dad. He was one of the best fathers that I've known in my life. Coming up in high school or whatnot. But he passed away, I believe, in 2005. But today would have been his birthday. So happy heavenly birthday to Big Clay. Shout out to Big Clay, man. We love you and we miss you, man, tremendously. Before we get out of here, too added, hey, what's good, Nicole? Two added a comment saying, look at Australia, all guns are banned, but people are getting stabbed up like crazy. So if you take one thing away, they'll use something else. A gun is only a tool like a knife or a screwdriver. I'm with you, and I totally respect that argument, but I'm saying I would rather see people with stab wounds than bullets to the dome and dead as the seats. You could die from stabbings as well, but you more likely to die from a gunshot than a knife.
No,
That's all.
you know the statistics, right, from the FBI.
Yeah.
The number of long barrel rifle that includes a shotgun, AR-15, was like 411 back in 2022. Stabbing, homicide by either stabbing or fist was 1,100. It was more than double.
It was almost triple. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing right there is like, but they're not trying to boycott knives. They're not trying to do like, but it's all it's all about these folks don't get into Congress and become multimillionaires on $178,000 a year salary before taxes.
Mhm.
You know, they in 5 years they were $5-6 million because the gun people wouldn't cave to them, just like when they tried to take Bill Gates down in the 80s because he didn't want to he didn't want to donate to their politics. So they tried to destroy Microsoft. That's why he was up on Capitol Hill. So it's kind of like the same thing with the guns. They want to say assault weapon. Well, guess what? If I take my dang on 7-iron out of my bag and I bust Rome
That's
upside the
assault
head,
Yeah,
that was an assault weapon with that dang on 7-iron imprinted on the side of his head. And it'll probably kill him with that blow, especially with my swing. You know, so that's the thing. That's the smoke and mirrors that I tell people we got to stop paying attention to, because what's killing the most people isn't what they're going after. We're only 3% of the world population, yet we're number one in medical expense. We're number one in education per student. And where's our medical? Zero. It's almost near dead last when it comes to all the industrialized company. Our education is almost last in all the industrialized countries, but yet we spend the most money. You know, and people are like, okay, well, we can have free healthcare like Canada. Well, guess what? If you got cancer and you need an MRI in Canada, if you need an appointment scheduled for an MRI, you're going to wait almost a whole year for your appointment.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell folks, let's focus. Like literally, if we stop giving all this money to other countries, everybody literally could have free healthcare. I mean, everybody is entitled to free healthcare. You know, it's just not the healthcare that we want. Like if I go with Blue Cross Blue Shield to the doctor, they look at my card. Oh, this is the Blue Cross Silver or Bronze. We only have gold or platinum we accept. You know, like we all have the healthcare, but it's just not the healthcare that we want. Why can't we be like Dubai? Why can't we be like Denmark? Why can't we be like Sweden, where all their medicine is free, their education's free and all that? But guess what they don't have? They have zero immigration. Zero. They don't let nobody, Egypt, they don't let nobody in there. Dubai, you go there on a tourist visa and them dang on officers are at your door to see if you need a ride to the airport when it's time to go. They take care of their in-house. We could do that here. So I just think, you know, that's why I'm so big on us not paying so much attention to what the media just to get clicks and all this stuff, because there's kids, there's young men. Some of them are fathers. We losing them every day. I think there's the 13-year-old in Raleigh yesterday, he wanted for murder. You know, shot somebody. I'm like, where's the father at? Where's a, you know, and when I say father, I mean father figure. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the blood father, but you got all these jokers, whether their intention is just to make money or not, they're out here doing AAU. You got leaders in your church that are males. I spoke to one female and I was like, look, why don't you get get him in the AAU, or you say he plays, you know, his coach could be a good mentor. She was like, oh, I don't even like him like that. He's not my type. I'm sitting there like, this ain't about you. This is about your son having a male figure in his life. that's giving up their free time for his life. Just like Rome taught, was it your dad who did the flag football?
Me.
Oh,
No, I was about to give him the opportunity to talk about it before we got up out
yeah.
of here.
But he's taking time, and it's probably something you do for free. You know, like that's the thing. You got that passion for it. So that's what we got to start getting things to these what they call the YNs. And you know, we got to start getting, because that's how we were so successful with our son. We kept him, he was at track, football, basketball, lacrosse, and his grades. When that joker got home at night, he was knocked out. On the weekends, Millbrook, practice in the morning, weightlifting in the after, you know, and then football workouts or whatever. He was too tired to do dumb stuff. Boys, we do dumb stuff. When I was a young soldier, we did dumb stuff. You know, so that's the thing. We got to keep them busy and occupied, because if we don't do it, the streets will be their father.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Ro, before we get up out of here, y'all season coming up? Y'all in season or what?
So we ain't talked in a while, Mario. We gotta talk. I retired.
What?
I
You know,
officially
starting the
retired.
league, put the league together, now you retired. I'm thinking I'm about to be setting you up to promote you going to the Olympics this year. I mean, 2028.
I did it for 10 years, man. You know, at the highest level, you know, coaching and then winning the championship, then starting the league and bringing the tournament, the first ever tournament here in the Triangle area that we got teams from all up and down the East Coast participating in. But I did it for 10 years. And you know, it becomes a time where if I didn't buy out, and when I did, I'd do it for another 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I obviously some of that took away from fatherhood, right? Because sometimes I would miss not a game or something, but maybe I could have went down and got work with my son, as opposed I'm coaching the ladies, working with somebody one-on-one on their game, or painting football fields, or putting a tournament together and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I really didn't have a lot of time for me anymore. So now, you know what I'm saying, I've been outside a little bit more.
Right.
I've been to travel a lot more. Like I obviously travel with the football. I still support it, still go and stuff like that. And when people call me, I'm one of the ones that most people in the flag community are called when they have, what you think about this, or can you help us with this and things like that. So I still got an imprint on it. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But now I don't have to worry about Saturday morning getting up at 8:00, going to football practice, and then going to paint the field, and then Sunday being at the football field all day. I can do whatever I want. I can go to the game and just relax and then say, okay, I'm gone. I don't got to worry about waiting to clean up and do all of that stuff. So that feels good. But no, it's still around, man. It's still, you know what I'm saying? If y'all ain't never had a chance to get into the flag, especially in women's, you should definitely, man. It's grown, help get into all the high schools here. Now it's an Olympic sport for 2028. Yeah. And yeah, man, it's big, man. It's growing. It has grown. It's gonna continue to grow. And I can say I have my imprint on that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff right there.
No doubt, man. But man, yeah, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. I appreciate you guys for being a part of this, man. And like I said, we can definitely gonna get together again. When y'all got some more topics y'all want to come back on, feel free to let me know. Sam, you already know we all you go back and forth throughout the week.
Oh yeah.
I truly appreciate you guys, man. And I appreciate each and every teacher, each and every legit law enforcer, that's a father figure, every coach, every preacher, every deacon, every elder, everybody that's a positive male figure, stepdads again, adoptive dads, all the fathers out there. I hope you guys had a great weekend. If the children didn't tell you that they love you and thank you, I'm telling you, I thank you and I love you. And I thank God for you, because whether you appreciate it or not, you are needed. And that's the bottom line at the end of the day. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're gonna be back next week. And next Tuesday will be my mother's birthday. So happy early birthday to my mom. But next Tuesday I got a special guest. I'll announce it throughout the week because I don't really want to get into it now, but it might be a show that you guys really want to tune into. And I'm excited to hear this young man's story and more about just his challenges in life and things that he go through and his triumphs as well. So I look forward to having that conversation next week. But I hope that everybody has a good week. Congratulations to all the graduates that's graduating this week as well as we approach it. And know that if we could not be here when we gather the next time, know that I love you and I appreciate each and every one of you. Like I'll tell you guys all every week, be intentional about the ones that you love. Let people know what they mean to you, and how much they mean or part they played in your life while you yet can. Because once they're in that casket, those words are pointless. So it's important. You never know the difference that you can make in somebody's life by actually letting them know what it is that you mean to them while you yet can. Having said that, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. And as usual, signing off, DeAndre and Lysha, know that Daddy loves you intentionally, but I also love you unconditionally. Till next week, peace.
Peace.